Fair use. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Open a few moments with the martial force of the Kuma, Yahweh. We are put so for your prayer. We are new to me for their Kuma, Yahweh. We are put so your prayer. We are new to me for their Arise up you, O Yahweh. Let your enemies be scattered, and let those that hate thee flee from before thee. Let all of Yasharah, Yisrael, who love, worship, and praise Yahweh. Give him thanks by saying hallelujah.
All right, shalom, family, and welcome to Into All Truth. May the Ruach HaKodesh lead you into all truth and show you things to come. All right, so we're going to review the Feast of Tabernacles. You know, Yah is always showing me something brand new every time I celebrate it. And this is really a time where we build our temple and we anticipate the return to the land, the return of Yawasha, and we celebrate his actual birth, which was at this time, at the time of Tabernacles. It was not at Xmas. And one of the things Yah showed to me was that this was celebrated as the time and place where Yahusha came down, and it was anticipated through, obviously, the forefathers really commanded through Enoch, and in the natural starting with Abraham as the father of Yasharel. And so we look at the scripture, Enoch 77:1, it says, and the first quarter is called the east, because it is the first, and the second quarter, this is of the earth. The second, the south, because the Most High will descend there. Yea, there in quite a special sense will he who is blessed forever descend. And so here we have the announcement of the birth of Yahusha coming from Enoch all the way here in the book of Enoch, chapter 77. And it's no coincidence that this is in the 7th month. And so we know that there is a holy gematria, and the holy gematria always points to these things. Time is measured in sevens. And so this is the 7th month. And we know that there are 7 days in this feast. And of course, in the calendar, the true calendar, all of the appointed times usually hit on the Shabbats. All right. And so you shouldn't have a problem with observing it if you observe the Shabbat. And so let's get into this study. And I just wanted to show you this image, this video. Most people think this is what Jacob's ladder looks like. I'm going to kind of turn the volume down here. So these are some of the renderings. But, you know, they show this glorious rendering of this heavenly staircase. in this video that I saw, but really the true heavenly staircase is Yahusha HaMashiach. He is truly the one who connects us and bridges heaven and earth. He is Jacob's ladder. All right, so let's get into it. I'm just going to give you a brief description of the Feast of Tabernacles. We'll go into detail in these other cross references. But we'll start with Deuteronomy 16 and 13. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after thou hast gathered in thy corn, thy wine, and thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto Yahuwah thy Elohim, in the place which Yahuwah shall choose. So he's going to choose a place. Now we also are the place, all right? So there's an actual place in the land, but there are also a people, and we are also the temple, right? Because Yahuwah Elohim shall bless thee in all thine increase and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore, thou shalt surely rejoice. So this is a time of celebration and rejoicing after we did really 10 days of atonement, okay, since trumpets. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahuwah thy Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the feast of weeks, so Shabbatot, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahuwah empty. So every man shall give as he is able. So not only are you presenting yourself as a living sacrifice, you should be bringing a gift for Yahuwah, according to the blessing of Yahuwah Elohim, which he hath given thee. So we're going to be giving gifts to Yah in this. There's a lot more to this, family. Which is altogether just that thou shalt follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim has given thee. I'm actually skipping down in that verse. And what it says here is, thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of Yahuwah thy Elohim, which thou shalt make thee, neither shalt thou set up any image which Yahuwah Elohim hated. And so why am I mentioning this? This is the command being given to Moses by Yahuwah about how to observe this feast. And we're going to see the forefathers observed it. That's why the law was from the beginning. It wasn't just from the time of Moses. But why I'm mentioning this at the bottom is that we're going to find out that the place where Yahuwah came down in the form of Yahusha is actually the place where Rachel was buried, and it's the place where Jeroboam set up the idols that broke the kingdom apart. And so we're going to see some of the work of knitting the kingdom back together that is being done by the forefathers, and of course Yahusha HaMashiach, in relation to this particular appointed time, or Moedim. All right, so let's get into it. Let's continue, but put a pin in that, and let's just continue on. I'm going to go into more detail as we get down. But first of all, we're going to go into the spiritual aspects of this. You know that I love to talk about that. Then we'll do the practical aspects of observation in the last portion of this. People were really wanting me to answer questions about that. And so that's what I'm going to do in the last portion of this. But I love the holy, symbolic stuff and everything. You know me, family. I just love it. I just love the things that Yahuwah shows me. It's really amazing. So I'm just so blessed to share them with you here today. All right, so I'm going to refer here to the Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 4, book XI. I always forget the Roman numerals, fam. But Tabernacles, the Feast of Trumpets, is a call of the trumpets to assemble. And really, during the time of Cyrus, it was a time to assemble and build. All right. Now, we know in the first Exodus that it was the strangers came out with Israel, with the seed. And the strangers, the other nations, have always been in the midst of and amongst Israel, even from the time of Abraham. All right. And of course, Enoch and everything, because the three sons of Noah, everybody was one at that point. And so, but I'm pointing this out to you, family. Why? I'm pointing it out to you that as at the time of rebuilding the temple, they celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles. And people made vows and performed them and offered their sacrifices from the first day of the 7th month. So this was to prepare to atone for 10 days, to prepare for, basically the 7th day. All right. So Tabernacles is really the 7th day. All the feasts that take place in the 7th month commemorate the 7th day of rest. They're a magnification of the Shabbat. That's what Tabernacles is. It's a time of rest in the wilderness. And it says here, they made vows, performed them, and offered their sacrifices from the first day of the 7th month. And they also began to build the temple and gave a great deal of money to the masons and to the carpenters that was necessary for the maintenance of the workmen. And the Sidonians also were very willing and ready to bring cedar trees from Libanus. All right, so these are the Aramites from Lebanon, okay, Laban, to bind them together and to make a united float of them and to bring them to the port of Joppa. For that was what Cyrus had commanded at first, and what was now done at the command of Darius. So we see there's a participation with the Shemites, with the Gentiles of the Shemites, and with Japheth of the Shemites, in terms of a command, finances, or offering, such as the cedar trees. So I want to note this because there always is a participation of the Gentiles. However, it is the priests of Yasharel who are actually overseeing the building. But I want you to note this because this is very important to the return to the land. All right, where what has happened before will happen again. As it was in the beginning, so it shall be in the end. Yah says a thing once and it speaks twice. That is how we interpret prophecy. So since trumpets, we are gathering together to rebuild the temple, to build the temple. So we atone. And then we are built up in the truth, built up in the faith, built up in the promise of the coming of Yawasha and the coming of the eternal kingdom and that 7th day of rest. And we're going to find, just as we looked at that chapter 77 of Enoch, and a lot of these are 7-day and 8-day feasts. We're all about the 7s and 8s in this. We're about the 1,000-year reign, which occurs in the 7th day, all right? So at the end of the 6,000 years, the beginning of the 7,000th year is the Shabbat rest, where Yahusha reigns, and outside of the kingdom dwell the Gentiles who were not saved and in Yahusha during the kingdom, and before the kingdom, and these people will dwell outside the kingdom for 1,000 years during the reign of Yahusha and come to visit the kingdom and everything. And then after that 1,000-year reign, Satan's released again. And after that, it is the 8th day. It's the eternal reign. And so how do we know that? There's actually precepts for this. So again, the 8th day is the eternal Shabbat, Jacob's ladder, or the set apart wall. Okay? Het. Okay, these are the letters that are numerically 8. The Pei, the mouth of Yah, and the ladder. So that is basically the word. Yahusha is the word of Yah, the mouth of Yah, and he is the ladder, the way back to heaven, what will reconnect heaven and earth. All right, and then we have the 7th day, which is symbolized by the watchful eye and the Zion, the planting of Zion, the instrument that is used to plant the seed, and is the 7th day of rest. All right? And we are coming, as we mentioned in the scripture that we read, It is coming out of the final harvest of the fall harvest. So there's spring harvest, the summer harvest, and the fall harvest. So this is the last harvest, which is significant because it's the end of time, right? Just like the fall will be. And so Enoch told of the 8th day in chapter 33, verse, I think this is 633. Yeah, chapter 33, verse 1. And I appointed the 8th day also, that the 8th day should be the first created after my work, and that the first 7 resolve in the form of the 7,000, and that at the beginning of the 8,000 there should be a time of not counting, endless, with neither years nor months nor weeks nor days nor hours. So that's the end of time, the 8th day. That's why the 8 looks like an hourglass, or it looks like the symbol of eternity. All right. And also the men were circumcised on the 8th day. So is the final cutting off, the final circumcision of the heart, the eternal change Yah will create in us. All right, so we already talked about the Most High in this sense, because the Most High will descend there. In quite a special sense, will He who is blessed forever descend. So put a pin in that, family. Hold on to it, because that was the prophecy of Yahusha's descent into the world of man for our salvation. Now we know the ark rested on the Kodesh 7th day, and there's other examples you can just read, pause to read if you want. On this day we also face towards Israel, towards the temple. We blow the shofar 3 times and say the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad. Ooh, a little low for me, but praise Yah. So that is what we say. And here's all the studies. You can pause to read this or take a screenshot. Now I just briefly touched on the Moed of Trumpets. You can go ahead and take a look at these if you like. But here at the Feast of Tabernacles, as we said, it is 7 days, and it has 2 Shabbats in it. The high Shabbat is the 8th day Shabbat. So it's really 8 days altogether. And you rejoice before Yah, you dwell in booths made of tree branches. Why? Because Yahusha was a tree, we are trees. We are restoring the tree of life. And we are commemorating and rehearsing the 1st and 2nd Exodus, the return to the land to dwell there eternally. All right? And Shemini Azrat is the last Yom, the last day of SUKKOT, that high Shabbat of the 8th day. And if you watched my last video, I talked to you about the idea that Azarath, or Eretz Azarath, is actually the earth, but the real Azarath is the west, is Babylon. And it is a time out of place, out of mind. When you are buried, you are dead. All right? And this is the end of the growing season. So this is the fall, like I said, harvest season. So this is the time of resurrection from the dead and returning to the land. And so, as I said, the Most High, in a special sense, would descend in the south. Would He who is blessed forever descend? So this speaks, of course, of where the kingdom of heaven ultimately will come down, where the Garden of Eden is. It's in the east. But what we find here is that it's a special place, most of all because this is where Jacob's ladder was. All right? And so Jacob, we learn that Jacob fell asleep and dreamed of Jacob's ladder. He wrestled with the angel of Yahuwah, who is Yahusha. All right? Because Yahuwah comes in the form of an angel, just as He came in the form of Yahusha as the Savior to save us. And He communicates with His creatures in His image oftentimes. And so the scripture actually says we will become like the angels. So we will become like the man Yawasha or Yahusha Yahuwah himself, when he walked with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day, in that form that was both angel and man before we fell. Okay? All right, family, I hope you're understanding that. And so he communicates with us both as the angel of Yahuwah and as Yahusha, because we are going to be in our highest form, both angel and man. All right? And Genesis 28:12 says, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending upon it. And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah Elohim of Abraham thy father, and the Elohim of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, to thy seed. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep and said, surely Yahuwah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of Yahuwah, and this is the gate of heaven. Okay, this is our gate of heaven. So this is confirmation of the witness of Enoch, of where Yahuwah would descend. All right? And why? We have other reasons for this. Because this place was anointed and named Bethel. All right? We see a precursor to Jacob's ladder with Abraham or Abram. In Genesis 12:7-8, Yahweh appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded Abraham, and Abram at the time, an altar unto Yahweh. And he appeared unto him, and he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai, Ai, on the east. And there he builded an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. So we see that Bethel is to the west of Hai, of Ai. Okay? And so it's to the west of that area, but this is where Yahuwah will descend. This is where Deborah's Rebecca's nurse died, and she was buried at Bethel under an oak. And when Rachel died, she died at Shechem for her idols. All right? And then she was removed from her idols at Shechem and buried in Bethlehem. And Jacob set up a pillar on her grave. All right? And so this is where he wrestled with Yah. And this is actually a place where Israel died, which I mentioned before, didn't I? It's where Jeroboam, this is more the northern kingdom as well, right? It's not the north, but it's where Jeroboam set up altars near Ai. And this is where, of course, Bethlehem is, where it says the Messiah would come from Bethlehem. Right? So we see the connection, right? Hallelujah. All right. And so we saw these numbers already. Let's continue. We already talked about the 8th day. And so do we have other examples of tabernacles? Yes, because the law did not begin with Moses. And so Abraham's first tabernacles is noted in Jubilees 16 and 12. And we can see this correlated in scripture too in the 66 books. But it says, and we returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us. And we blessed him, and we announced to him all the things which have been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he begets 6 sons. So this is Abraham, the prophecies for him, and should see them before he died, but that in Isaac should his name and seed be called. So this is just calling out that Sarah was with child and went up for tabernacles. All right, so we see that they did tabernacles, and Sarah was pregnant. Okay, she was either pregnant, I'm not sure if she was pregnant or the child was born at this point. And he built there an altar unto Yahuwah, who had delivered him, and making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month, 7 days, near the altar which he had built at the well of the oath. Okay, and he built booths for himself and for his servants on this festival. So now we talked about the booths already, right? Made out of trees. And he was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles on the earth. And during these 7 days, he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering unto Yahuwah, 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 he-goat for a sin offering, that he might atone thereby for himself and for his seed. Now I want you to see there's 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, and 1 he-goat. All right, for the sin offering. So 7 sheep, 2 rams, 2 oxen. All right, and as a thank offering, 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, 7 he-goats, and their fruit offering and their drink offerings. And he burnt all of the fat thereof on the altar, a chosen offering unto Yahuwah for a sweet smelling savor. So people are like, what should we eat? What should we prepare? Well, obviously Yahusha is the offering, but we begin to see here a picture of the foods that you can eat, the meats that you can eat at this particular time. Now, he offered these every day. We're going to see the detail in how this is done according to what the priests are told. But we see this sequence of 7s, right? 7 rams, kids, sheep, goats. This is representing the people, both the Yasharel and the Gentiles, all right? And it says, and morning and evening he burnt fragrant substances of frankincense, gall, banum, stacte, and nard, and myrrh, and spice, and costum. And all these he offered crushed, mixed together in equal parts, and pure. Now, I haven't done a study on all of these. I think I did in the past, but that's homework for you guys. I'd like you to do is to research them and comment later on what they are and where we can get them. If you can comment in the chat right now, but if not, if you do your research, please come back and post it on the comments. Now, I've already used frankincense and myrrh before, and I'll burn frankincense. And I will burn myrrh as a sweet offering to Yahuwah. I would just burn them separately because we don't know what all of these are. And there's a reason why he had 7 of them. Notice there are 7 here again. We see this sequence of 7. All right. So this is all about the eternal Shabbat to come, the eternal rest with Yahushua HaMashiach. So we see how everything is being prepared in advance by Abraham, one of the first priests, by Enoch, the first priest, as he announced where Yahusha would come down to be with men at Bethel, all right, where Jacob's ladder was. And it says he celebrated the feast during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and all his soul, he and all those who were in his house, and there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. So that's not saying there was no stranger with him, because he had already been commanded that the stranger and the servant in his household would have to be circumcised. He had already been given that command. So these are all they who are with him. So there's still Gentiles who were with Abraham even before the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the 12 tribes are even born. So the Gentiles have always been part of this, which is part of the prophecy of Noah to the 3 sons of Noah coming from the line of Enoch. All right, so here we go into it again. We see the 7s, we see the fragrant substances, and we see that it was 7 days, and he was faithful to circumcise, and that included everyone in his household who participated. All right? And no stranger means that there was nobody who was there who was outside of his household. Do you see what I'm saying? Now we see that Jacob and his 12 sons also celebrated SUKKOT And this is also when Levi took the priestly office, all right? And so here we have in Jubilees 31 and 3, it says that Jacob went up on the appointed time of the 7th month to where Bethel, again, where Jacob's ladder was, Bethlehem, where Yahusha was born. This is right. On the new moon of the month, Jacob spake to all the people of the house, saying, Purify yourselves and change your garments, and let us rise and go up to Bethel, where I vowed a vow to him on that day when I fled from the face of Esau my brother, because he has been with me and brought me into this land in peace. And put ye away the strange gods that are among you. So this is when they buried, he talked about how Rachel had sinned with these idols. He goes on to say in chapter 32, he abode that night at Bethel, and Levi dreamed that they ordained and made him the priest of Yahuwah the Most High, him and his sons forever, and awoke from his sleep and blessed Yahuwah. So he had this heavenly dream. So we have the dream that Levi was made a high priest of Yah, him and his sons forever, and he awoke from his sleep and blessed Yahuwah. And we're going to skip way down. And he went to his father Isaac and his mother Rebekah to the house of his father Abraham, and he took his sons with him, Levi and Judah, and he came to his father Isaac and his mother Rebekah. So what we see is that the Levi and Judah are actually blessed at this time. So with the appointed times, over and over again, special things happen. Special things happen for me. I'm already getting breakthroughs. This lesson itself is a breakthrough. It's a new revelation. Yah does new things all the time. And so Levi and Yehudah were favored and blessed at this time. Okay. Yehudah was blessed by the left hand, and Levi by the right hand. And so they go and they see Rebekah and Isaac, and they go to Isaac in his chamber, and his two sons were with him. And stooping down, he kissed him, and Isaac clung to the neck of Jacob his son and wept on his neck. And the darkness left the eyes of Isaac, and he saw the two sons of Jacob, Levi, and Judah, and said, Are these thy sons, my son? For they are like thee. And he said to them, They were truly his sons. And thou hast truly seen, they are truly my sons. And so he kissed them, embraced them, and yes, and the spirit of prophecy came down into his mouth, and he took Levi by his right hand and Judah by his left, and he turned to Levi first and began to bless him first and said, May Yahuwah Elohim of all, the very Yahuwah of all ages, bless thee and thy children throughout all the ages. May Yahuwah give thee and thy seed greatness and glory, and cause thy seed from among all flesh to approach him, to serve in his sanctuary as the angels of the presence of the holy ones, even as they shall the seed of thy sons, for glory and greatness and holiness, that he may make them great unto all the ages. That they shall be judges and princes and chiefs of all the seed of the sons of Jacob. They gave tithes, and Levi discharged the priestly office at Bethel before Jacob his father in preference of his 10 brothers. And he was a priest there, and Jacob gave his vow. Thus he tithed again the tithe to Yahuwah and sanctified it, and it became holy unto him. So Levi, let me be clear here, I don't mean to confuse you, but Levi dreamed he was ordained a priest. And it was after they did this at Bethel that he was then anointed as such by Isaac. So Yah told him before Isaac even did it. So what we just saw was, these are the two witnesses of Jubilees and Genesis, when Jacob it was actually at the time of Passover that he wrestled with the angel of Yahuwah, but he had made this promise that if Yah would keep him, And he would come again to his father's house in peace. Then should Yahuwah be his Elohim, his Yahuwah. And he anointed that stone and set up a pillar there. And he promised to give a tenth to Yahuwah. And this is why he tithed there to his own son Levi. You see? So he kept his word and his promise. In Isaiah 7 and 14, it is predicted prophesied that Yahuwah himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. That's in Isaiah 7 and 14. And Luke says, and it's around the same timing, the angel answered and said to her, the Ruach HaKodesh shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore, also that holy thing that which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of Eluah. All right, now the other thing that happens here that we want to be clear about is that this is the time of the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach. And sometimes people get confused about this because the way that it's worded in the New Testament. But the way that we figure this out is from the time of the conception. From the time of the conception of Elizabeth, of the great John the Baptist, and the time of the conception of Mary, of Yahushua HaMashiach. And what we find out, we have to first go with Elizabeth, the mother of the prophet and high priest John. There was in the days of Herod, king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, of the course of Abiyah. Okay? Yes, Abiyah's course. And his wife was the daughter of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before Yahuwah, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of Yahuwah blameless. And they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and now they were both stricken in years. And it came to pass, while he executed the priest's office before Yahuwah in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of Yahuwah. And the whole multitude of people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him the angel of Yahuwah standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. And the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard. Thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call him Yahan. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of Yahuwah, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall turn to Yahuwah their Elohim. All right, and so this is where we go all the way down to the verse where it says that after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself 5 months, saying, Thus Yahuwah Elohim hath dealt with me in these days, wherein he looked upon me to take away my reproach among men. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent forth from Yahuwah, or from Elohim, unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man who was named Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came unto her and said, Hail, thou art highly favored, Yahuwah is with thee, blessed art thou among women. And she saw him and was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with Elohim. Behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Yahusha. Okay, Yawasha. And so here is the prophecy by the word of the mouth of the angel of the name of the Savior. All right, Yawasha. Now they have this horrible word, which is not his name. Yahuwah is salvation. And so, of course, we go to the Strong's. And we see Yawasha. Okay, that's his true name. All right, and so here's all the scriptures where we find it. They're all listed here. Okay, all right. How many times his name is in scripture? Right, so we're just going to back things up to the moment where we start counting the days and the months from the conception of Johann or John in Elizabeth to the conception of Yahusha in Mary and then his birth. And it says that after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself 5 months, saying, Yahuwah has dealt with me in the days wherein he looked upon me to take away my reproach from among men. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent forth from Yahuwah to the city of Galilee named Nazareth. So this is in the 6th month, actually, of Elizabeth's pregnancy, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came unto her and said, Hail, thou art highly favored, Yahuwah is with thee, blessed art thou among women. So what it's important that you understand was that she conceived in the course of her husband in the 3rd month, because her husband was a priest in the temple. All right, and the priests had courses, and so his course was in this 11th course. And so what we do is we look at the courses around the time of Shavuot, and so he was in this course of Ahaya or Abba, the course of Abaya, all right, which is just before Yahusha. The course of Yahusha. You can't make this stuff up, right? And then comes the Shekinah Yahu. So it's like the time of rest, then Yah, then Yahusha, and then glory. And so when you count 6 months later, okay, 1, 2, into the 9th month, because this is in the 3rd month, 6 months later is in the 9th month. This is when Mary conceives, in the time of Abba Yah, in the time of Yahusha. So it's easy to remember. So now the 9th month is not what we consider to be the 9th month, which is so-called September, right? The 9th month is really around the time of December, all right, which would be the time that Yahusha would have been conceived, and it would have been about 2 weeks before, December 25th. So it was a few weeks before so-called Xmas. But they played around. Please watch my video on Hanukkah to get into more detail on that. All right? The calendar is not an easy thing to do, family. It takes a lot of work. So I wouldn't trust too many people on teaching the calendar. However, this is and I made a mistake with this in the past, and I had to correct myself. Now, according to Yah, I'm a prophet. I don't like calling myself a prophet. But you can make mistakes as a teacher, teaching prophecy, but you can't make mistakes as a prophet prophesying. You hear what I'm saying? So you can make mistakes as a teacher teaching prophecy. However, when you say I'm prophesying a word from Yah, you cannot make a mistake. Okay, I hope that makes sense, all right? So in the past, I got this messed up, and I thought because of this whole Elizabeth 5th month, 6th month thing, that he was born around Shavuot, but this proves he was actually born around the time of Tabernacles, because 9 months afterwards is Tabernacles. So let's continue with this. And the angel of Yahuwah said to her, The Ruach HaKodesh shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Now, some people get this confused because the Ruach is feminine. So, the Ruach HaKodesh shall come upon thee. Now, remember, the Ruach HaKodesh came upon David and Saul, and they didn't get pregnant. All right, because that's not what's happening. How Miriam got pregnant was the power of the highest overshadowed her. Okay, just when a man is conceiving with a woman, he overshadows her, he covers her. See what I'm saying? So it was Yahuwah here, the Most High, who put the seed into her, not the Ruach HaKodesh. Understand what I'm saying? Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the son of Elua. And behold, thy cousin Elizabeth, she hath also conceived in her old age, and this is the 6th month with her, who was called barren. And Mary arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste, into a city of Yehudah, and entered into the house of Zacharias and saluted Elizabeth. And it came to pass, when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leapt in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And it says, of course, here in Luke that he will be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh while yet in his mother's womb. So that was the prophecy of Elizabeth being filled, having John be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, right? And she spoke out with a loud voice and said, Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. And whence is this to me, that the mother of my Yahuwah should come to me? For lo, as soon as the voice of thy salutation sounded in mine ears, the babe leapt in my womb for joy. And so this is her prophesying, right? The babe leapt in her womb. The two women are meeting. And so it is Yahusha. There are 7 spirits of the Ruach HaKodesh. The 8th is the Ruach of truth. All right? The 8th is the Ruach of truth. And so that is the spirit that I talk about in my greeting to you guys. May the Ruach HaKodesh lead you into all truth. The Ruach of Amet. And the spirit of truth is the spirit of Yahushua HaMashiach. He comes with the full truth and revelation of the word of salvation. So I hope that's clear, family. So when we see there are 12 priestly courses, 12 months in the year, and there are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 courses. All right, and so from the 9th month, when Yahusha was conceived, all right, all the way to the 7th month. Okay, so 9th, 10th, and it was mid-month, 11th, 12th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it would be Yadia in the middle of the 7th month, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, because it's the 15th, 14th, 15th day, right? And look at the word for this course is praise Yah, Yahudah, Yadaya, Yadaya. So Yehudah praises Yah, Yehudiah, right? And there's SUKKOT, all right? So is that just, Yahuwah is very excellent. His timing is perfect. And I'm praying for him to improve me personally, to improve my timing in my life, listening to the Spirit. And so I had some breakthroughs about that. Also had some real challenges. It was hot and cold these 10 days. It was like one day I was walking on clouds in heaven and obedient and just feeling so empowered by Yah and just walking according to his leading. And then the next day I was screaming and crying like on trumpets and atonement. It was like celebrating, praising Yah, then screaming and crying, then celebrating, praising Yah, then screaming and crying. All right, so hopefully you will get your breakthrough. I hope that makes sense, family, that Yahusha was born at Sukkot. So let's look a little bit more at Sukkot again. And so let's go into some of these sacrifices and offerings, family, that are so important and essential at this time and really reveal a lot. And I want to say to you, no servile work means no serving anybody, no servile work. However, the priests do serve, and you are a kingdom of priests. We're going to find out it's just perfectly fine to barbecue, but this is usually when the men are usually doing the barbecuing as men, as priests. This is why barbecuing is so common amongst the African diaspora around the world, and the men are usually loving to barbecue because they are serving in that respect. And of course, the Shabbat is never a time for you to expect women to be serving you, because it says you're to do what? No servile work. So just be very careful about that, family. So, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahuwah. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. Thou shalt do no servile work therein 7 days. Ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. That means no serving, nothing uncommonly, unseemly, no cleaning. It's a time to rest and celebrate. It's a time to rest and celebrate, and that's for everybody. And so you see there's an offering made by fire. Now, obviously, Yahusha is the offering, and so are we. We are presenting ourselves as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yahuwah, onto the altar of Yah. All right? And there are many sacrifices that are offered here. And this includes the priests of Levi are also doing the morning and evening offering at this time. So that's Yahusha, is the morning and evening offering that seals out the darkness of hell and all darkness at the beginning and the end of the day. All right? And so he is our salvation. We do not have to offer these animals anymore because he has saved us. But there are gifts. I want you to read this. So, it says, these are the feasts of Yahuwah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon his day. So he has done the sacrifice. These are other offerings. There's drink offerings we make where we pour out wine onto the ground for Yahuwah, for him, as a gift. We have peace offerings. He is our peace. He has made our peace, but we can give him gifts. And this is why it says, do not appear empty-handed. We're supposed to give him gifts. And we can consume them except for the wine. The wine you just pour out on the ground, all right? And the ground drinks it in on behalf of Yahuwah. Because that's why it says, besides the Sabbath of Yahuwah, and besides your gifts. So you're bringing gifts for Yahuwah, not just yourself. And beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, more gifts for Yahuwah, which ye give unto Yahuwah. So you're going to be giving gifts to Yahuwah, family. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath. On the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. All right, so it is 8 days. We already went over that. These are the holy 1,000-year reign and the eternal rest celebrated in the 7th and 8th day. And ye shall take on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees and willows of the brook. All right, so a lot of people just think tents, but you're using branches in this. You're using actual wood because we are trees. Yahusha died on a tree. He is the tree of life. We see the relationship with the trees. And so I'm just going to ask you for homework to study what kinds of trees these truly are in the Hebrew. I may refer to them. We'll see how far we get. And you shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim 7 days. So this is a time of rejoicing and celebrating for 7 days. And ye shall keep a fast unto Yahuwah 7 days. Sorry, a feast, my apologies, family. And ye shall keep a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days in the year, and it shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. And ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So this is for Israel. Interesting. All that are Israelites born shall. So this is the seed again. When people talk to you about the seed, doesn't matter. Seed matters. That your generations may know that I made the children of Yasharel to dwell in booths. When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. So you are celebrating your first, as I said at the beginning, deliverance from Exodus from Egypt, and now the second one. You're looking forwards to that, and you're going to celebrate it again. And that is why the seed dwells in booths. Now, this is the third reference for what you are to do. And there were some things I noticed in here, and I really encourage you to read through this whole chapter on your own, more homework for you. And so here we refer to the Holy Convocation again. And it talks about the things you're to offer. Each day you offer these animals. Now, we don't have to offer these animals, as I said, anymore, but I would just buy some steak and some lamb and, some goat if you like it. I don't like goat, so I don't eat goat. But you can buy any of these meats, and when you fry them up and grill them, you're not supposed to eat the fat. Burn up that fat unto Yahuwah just as a gift. It's not for repentance for sins. It's a gift to him because it's his day. It's actually his birthday. Happy birthday, Yahuwah, Yahusha, right? It's his birthday. And so he gets gifts. He gets some wine and he gets bread. We're going to talk about that a little later. So it says, their meat offerings shall be of flour mingled with oil. So here is a meat offering you're going to do. Flour mingled with oil. A tenth deals unto every bullock of the 13 bullock. A tenth deals to each ram of the 2 rams. So this is where you get the chicken fried steak and all that kind of stuff, because the Hebrews love to fry their meat. And you're going to see how much oil this is. So you can do this chicken fried steak. You can do your, breaded lamb. You can, I'm going to show you guys a recipe, but I'm not going to get carried away because I'm getting ahead of myself. So what you have is you got the lambs and the rams and the goats, etc. And it says the continual burnt offering and his meat offering and his drink offering. So all of these animals have drink offerings too. So now we're talking about wine. So we're talking about the meat, we're talking about the bread, and we're talking about the wine. And we already mentioned incense, okay? Now, only do these things, family, all right? Do these things only if you are able, because this is a lot. But it's definitely possible. So that's on the first day. Then on the second day, you're offering 12 bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, etc. And all these are without spot. And this is besides the continual burnt offering and meat offering and their drink offerings. And we go through this for these. I'm not going to read through it all right now, But you can go ahead and check it out. On the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, it continues. These with their drink offerings. So each day you pour out some wine onto the ground unto Yahuwah. And you can do a grain offering, and you will not be profaning the Shabbat, because the priest is allowed to profane the Shabbat. So if you are forming kingdom of priests and you're performing the function of the priest, making that unleavened bread or that chicken fried steak, or, you know, then, and I'm going to show you guys a recipe, a good recipe that looks really like, okay, this is what they're talking about. Sorry, I'm sitting on my couch, and I've got a corduroy couch. I just have my feet on it. Anyway, and it says 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering and his meat offering and his drink offering. So it says meat offering. So this is your bread, family. This is your bread. And I don't hear any mention of leaven. However, it doesn't say no unleavened. All right. You can do homework on that again, babes, family, baby. Just double check it, baby. Double check it. All right. And on the sixth day, etc., and his meat offering and his drink offering. So the meat offering is the bread. The drink offering is the wine. When you got, wait till you find out how much wine this is, fam. So, you know, you're one person or one family, you know, this was representing the tribes. Okay. So this is a lot, but you know, you can reduce it down to your family size, I imagine. That's not the word from Yah, but I think it makes sense. And so we go all the way to the seventh day, and it's 7 bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, and their meat offering and their drink offering for the bullocks, for the rams, and the lambs. All right? So we've gone from 12 bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, to 7 bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs. So it's half the amount of bulls at this time on the 7th day. All right. Just out of curiosity, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm going to go into that too much, because I wanted to make this short. I'm trying to make it short. And then it says, on the 8th day, you shall have a solemn assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. So that's the 8th day. But you shall offer. Men, get on that barbecue. A burnt offering, a sacrifice made by fire, and a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. 1 bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs. So now you got 1 bullock, 1 ram. Okay? So it was 7 up here and 2 rams, whereas it was 12 here. And I think the 12 symbolize the 12 tribes. And the bullock is symbolic of the face of the angel. All right? The face of the angel. That's why the fallen tend to symbolize themselves as bulls, the fallen angels. So I think that's who that symbolizes. Obviously, the face of the man is Yahuwah, Yahusha, and the humans, right? Adam. But so now we are reducing this down to 1 bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without blemish. And so I think the reason for this is that we're on the 8th day and things are now whole. You hear what I'm saying? Yahuwah is one. There's an angel of Yahuwah. Yahuwah came in the form of Yahusha as the one. He said, I myself will provide a ram for the sacrifice. So he provided himself as the ram for the sacrifice. Didn't he? On the mountain with Abraham. And he sent Yahusha as the lamb for the sacrifice. And then 7 lambs of the first year without blemish. And then it says, their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the lambs, shall be according to their number after the manner. And it says 1 goat for a sin offering, beside the continual burnt offering and his meat offering and his drink offering. So I think the goat, I'm not always sure about the symbolism for it, but I'm just going to guess it's representing the Gentiles, or it's representing the casting out of Satan and the fallen ones just before, on that 8th day, as we go in, at the end of the 7th day, before we go into the 8th day, Azazel. All right? And it says, now these things you shall do unto Yahuwah in your set feasts, besides your vows, freewill offerings, burnt offerings, for your meat offerings, for your drink offerings, and for your peace offerings. So peace offerings are very clean animals made to make peace with Yah, but again, you can give gifts. And so I encourage you, family, to read through this, but you can make yourself some chicken fried steak unto Yahuwah. And I'm going to show you a good recipe I saw online, which I would recommend to you guys, which I think is really completely embodying this. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we're to celebrate this. Should I jump? Maybe I should jump ahead to the food. Now, some of these measurements, oh my goodness. So we'll go back to the places where you're doing your tabernacles after, because I'm on food. All right. So remember, there's a covenant of salt that all of Israel has with Yahuwah. So you are using your sea salt. Do not use pink salt. Pink salt is, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the videos on TikTok now, is petrified giant remains of salty flesh. So don't use pink sea salt. There is a YouTuber who has a huge raw vegan channel, and she always uses pink sea salt. I think she's Ishfolk. And I just want to say, don't use that stuff. But anyway, so make sure it's sea salt. That's what Yahuwah commands all throughout Scripture. And as I said, you are a kingdom priest, so you can perform the food, making of the food, because it's 7 days. You can't prepare in advance for 7 days. Yah wants the food fresh, wants it good. Just do as much preparation as you possibly can. All right? As much as you can, just to save yourself so you can rest, right? You can put incense on your unleavened bread. There are accounts of that, but that's a bit advanced for you guys. So, but just so you know, frankincense is medicinal. You can use it internally. If you used it I would grind it up finely so it doesn't bother your teeth. Sometimes I actually put that in my homemade toothpaste. But it is really good for your gut, frankincense. Tree resins are good for your stomach, but this is why you have to know what you're doing. The only one I would suggest, and you guys, pray and research, do your own research. I'm not your doctor, but and talk to a naturopath. You can use frankincense internally, and they call it mastika in medicine, and it's very good for your gut for getting rid of parasites and stuff. But anyway, you can put it on your bread. Obviously, you would have no yeast in these bread offerings, just because I've seen it both ways in my deep research, but just to keep it simple, unleavened. All right? You shall prepare the meat at sundown was one of the commands we saw. And so at sundown, you want to start that barbecuing. It's actually between the suns. So you would do it at kind of as the sun is going down to twilight is the best time. And you want to do, as we said at the beginning, you want to do the Shema. You want to blow the trumpet with your voice. Praise Yah. Now, some of these measurements, it talks about a hin. It is equal to about 8 quarts, which is 32 cups. And you're talking about a quarter of a hin of oil. And they also talk about wine. And so 1 hin in the biblical measure is equal to about 15 US cups. And so quarter of a hin. Let me see. So for 4 people, 12 cups of flour to 8 cups of oil. If you want to reduce that down to what, 4 people, a mom and a dad and, 2 kids, you might want to use 3 cups of flour. That would be equal to 2 cups of oil to 3 cups of flour. That's some frying there. I'm like, this is why the Hebrews love their bake and their fry and their biscuits, and everywhere you go in the world, and their puff puff. The Africans with their puff puffs, the Jamaicans with their bake and their Johnny cake, and the Trinidadians with their festival, they call it. And then in Jamaica, in the United States, they have their, they have their fried dumplings and stuff. So this is how the Hebrews love to eat, with lots of oil. So get a really good oil. Make sure it's real olive oil. A lot of them have canola. You don't want to be frying in that poison, all right? So get that real olive oil, or it does say olive oil. And I think Trader Joe's has real olive oil. Try to get the ones that aren't corrupted. Maybe they are by now, but it's good to get like Moroccan. Moroccan is good. Take a look at it to make sure it's pure, and research everything you can about it. Now, if you can't use olive oil, there are clean oils like avocado oil, grapeseed oil. There are clean oils that can burn high that you can also use. Coconut oil. There's a lot of health people who recommend against it, but we hear clearly in the scripture that Yah recommends for it, so we go with him. We don't go with these health food trends. And so, 3 cups of flour to 2 cups of oil is basically about what the measurement is for, let me see here, a hin. It's usually a quarter of a hin is what they talk about, or a deal, or a tenth of an ephah. So you guys can screenshot this to read more through it. I don't want to bore you with it, but do your own research, all right? I may not have explained this that clearly, but I don't want to bore you to death with it either. All right, but this is the best measure. 3 cups of flour to 2 cups oil is the measurement for if you're going to be making fry stuff, okay? And for wine, oh my goodness. It says a quarter of a hin is poured out for Yahuwah. A quarter of a hin. You see here. That's a lot, family. That's like a lot of wine. Let's go back here. So a hin is equal to 15 cups. Okay, so 15.5. So let's say almost 16 cups. And so 16 divided by 4, we're talking about 4 cups, like 4 cups of wine. A day. That's more than a bottle of wine. So, I would say per person a glass maybe. I don't know, but you're going to have to pray about it. You tell me what Yah tells you and comment later throughout the week if you want, okay? So if that makes sense, family, that's like 4 cups of wine, and you pour it out of the ground. Oh, sorry, fam. Take a look at this. So here is basically what they were giving as the offerings, just reviewing it again here. And the stacte, this is what Abraham started with. And we come down to here. I got steak and I got lamb. I'm going to barbecue them on a grill. So if you're staying somewhere, make sure you can grill so that you can grill up that stuff for Yah. And then, of course, you just eat it. All right? Except for the wine, you don't get to drink that. You have to pour it out on the ground, just so you know, family. And the flatbread, you make it with the oil and the water and the salt. It seems like it's an oil flatbread. Really oily, family. It doesn't talk about water. I might experiment with that. So you pour out the oil onto the wine onto the ground. All right, just Google it online, and that's what you do. So here is something that I found. Strong wine and a wine of a quarter of a hin is poured out for Yah, and the drink offering thereof shall be the fourth part of a hin for the one lamb. In the holy place shall thou cause strong wine to be poured out unto Yahuwah for the drink offering. So the wine of the offerer was placed in a golden pitcher, and while the lamb was being consumed on the altar, the priest poured it out on the ground. This isn't lamb burgundy, y'all. I know you want to make that lamb burgundy. Nope, you're pouring it out on the ground while the meat is being consumed. So you present yourself as an offering, and you pour the wine out on the ground. Or you can fry up the lamb and present yourself as an offering and pour the wine out at the same time. But, I would recommend either one. Honestly, family, just biblically, this is how I'm understanding it, but go to Yah in prayer at the end of the day. And so, you're giving Yah a bottle of wine for his birthday. For Yahusha, you're giving Yahusha a bottle of wine a day for his birthday as a family. So now here's a really good recipe I'm going to play for you guys. And this is looking like the fry bread, fam, with the lamb. So let's take a look at it.
My parents never fed us these stuffed meat pockets from the Middle East while we grew up in Seattle. These are called areas, and if I knew what these were as a kid, I would have just made them myself. I started out by hand grating an onion, keep the juice for the moisture, and set it aside. Dice 65 pounds of parsley, set it aside. I'm using about 2 pounds of ground lamb, add the onion and parsley and a few of the spices you can find below in the caption. Mix until everything is incorporated. Steam your pitas until soft and then cut them in half. Stuff each pita until it's packed with lamb and brush each one down with a little olive oil. Hot pan, oil down, you know the rules. Lay each one face down until you get a nice crust. Flip and cook on each side and serve. Man, Picasso, follow me for more.
All right, now is that not looking like what I just described? The amount of oil, and the bread is on the outside. This is chicken fried steak. This is pita fried lamb. And then you pour out the wine at the same time. Tell me what you think, family. I really, really would love to know. But that looks good. I love lamb. I met somebody he's literally from the tribe of Levi in West Africa. He hates lamb. So he probably had too much in his life. His ancestral craving for lamb is gone. So I hope that helps you, family, with the food and how to celebrate. Be creative and prayerful about it. But I hope my little bit of research here helps you.
My parents never fed us these.
Hold on one second. And then back to where do you go? What do you do? I have a whole testimony. But we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll focus on this. So what I did was I researched some really nice places here. And, obviously you can get one of these lovely tents and go and camp in the wilderness somewhere. A lot of people on Airbnb have farms and stuff you can go to. And for me, I'm terrible at coordinating and scheduling. I shouldn't say that. I struggle with it, and I'm getting a lot better. You can get yurts, and you see they've even got the wood in the yurt slats, because remember we talked about those kinds of wood, the willow and the poplar, correct? And so there were some other ones there, but you go ahead back and check it. The date palm, when it talks about the palm tree, it's palm branches, but they're really talking about the date palm is what the Strong's says. So you want to have some wood involved. It wasn't just canvas tents they were using. They, in fact, created lean-tos and wood. And I was like, I don't feel safe being out in a tent in the wilderness. Canada is very safe. We do have a lot of bears, and I know a lot of women are scared of bears. And so take these things into account. You can do I know a lot of women who've been doing Shabbat for years, and they're in their 80s and stuff, and they just do it in their living room. Some people will do it on the balcony of a high-rise apartment. They'll put a tent on their balcony. Many will do it in their backyards, just do a tent. You can go wilderness camping. I was looking for the wood effect, and so I wasn't looking at cabins. I was looking for shacks where you are getting the smell of the wood. It's like you're camping outside, but in a shack. Ideally, you'd want to build a lean-to or something, right? Because that's really what they're talking about. You can imagine smelling the wonderful smell of the leaves as you build a lean-to. But another compromise, I would say, would be something like this, something like a shack that is simply a standing wood structure with a little wood stove in it to keep you warm. And for ladies, just to feel a bit more secure while you're out in the wild. So, I listed a few things here. You will need a barbecue, so bring one with you, or make sure the facility you're going to, if you're renting a cabin or glamping, tent glamping, or you're going to be on someone's land, or you're on park land in the wilderness belonging to the federal or provincial government, just make sure that you are allowed to have fires, because there's fire bans in some places, and you're allowed to bring your own barbecue, because you want to be obedient with that. And that's, because you want to be frying that steak, right? You want to be making that chicken fried steak. Let's look at this, this cabin. I thought this place was nice because you aren't necessarily, see how it's just got all these little moon glow lights? There's no power in this place. It really is just a shack with a wooden floor. So you do have air circulating and lots of light. And they have a sink, but it doesn't work. You just fill it up with potable water. I'm not going to this place, which is why I'm showing it to you guys. But I think it's a good idea. See, and it's got a wood stove to keep you warm. And then there's places to swim, to get baptized, to be in nature, to connect with Yah, right? Because he's the living water. All right, and so this place doesn't offer any kind of barbecue, so you'd have to bring your own barbecue, but always check in advance to make sure they do. And I was looking at this place because the owners of it said, we don't want people here who are smoking dope or getting drunk. So you don't want that vibe around you either. All right, you don't want any temptation, but most of all, you don't want a different spirit around you. So always check on those things. But there are a lot of, really cute places. I wouldn't go for like a full cabin because that kind of defeats the purpose. For single ladies, it's a safety factor to be in a cabin. So fam, I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my appointed times with other Hebrews, like 3 of my tabernacles with other Hebrews in the 7 years I've been awoke and teaching and so forth. So, but I wasn't really feeling going down to the States. I wasn't really feeling any of the tabernacles. I just not being led to do that right now. And so I said to myself, well, how am I going to celebrate tabernacles at this time? And I was really getting this sense, although we are to gather together, Yah has me gathering people in other ways, but in terms of the tabernacles, it was more like, no, I want you to go and be with me by yourself in the woods. You need a break. And because I really have a challenge with taking vacations. And so that is the sanction from Yahuwah to take a vacation, are the appointed times. And so he was like, no, you've just been through so many roller coasters, like emotional roller coasters and changes and health stuff and everything. I'm always warfare on the health. So he was like, no, I want you to just be on your own. And I was like, I'm trying to be obedient, but it worked out in the end. He just worked it out. He's so good. And so he's teaching me to just let him take charge, to let him drive all the time now. And so, yeah, this was a real blessing to me, and I'm sure it will continue to be. I'm sure I'll have more testimonies. I found for me it was far too expensive to rent a camper van. I wanted to rent one, but they're just too expensive on top of booking you have to book so far in advance to get the provincial park bookings. yeah, you have to book so far in advance. I couldn't do that. I didn't know where my finances were. And, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, even though I make mistakes all the time, family. But, I'm a bit Asperger's. And so I was trying to book all this stuff. I think I got so stressed out, I wound up falling asleep for 12 hours. So, I was like, I'm trying to obey you, Abba. And he woke me up in the morning and I had me look at some health food videos, just like natural health videos just came to mind. I was watching them. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm really hungry. I'm doing a cleanse, a detox, atoning towards the day, right, of the feast. And, cleaning out the body, restoring my health. And so I thought, okay, I'll do some, make myself some salad for today. I got up at like 3 in the morning. I basically prepped a ton of food and it felt like nothing because it was the Spirit working through me to do it. And so I did my salad dressings. I did all kinds of really healthy foods that I could eat on a trip. And, I prepared all my greens. I made cabbage rolls. I made stuff I could heat up. I made, I canned pumpkin. I did all kinds of stuff. And yeah, I was like, okay, so now you're prepared to do this. Because I was so stressed out at the prospect of it all. Then I got online and he found me a place that was within my budget because I would have been over budget. I was stressed out about the money. I also have to work during the week. So, the days you have to observe are atonement, trumpets, and the high Shabbats. Absolutely, if you can avoid, observe all 8 days, praise Yah, do it. But for me, I've got to work a couple of days this week, so I'm observing it in 2 pieces, but making sure that I observe the high Shabbats. So he basically, some people deal with fear of bears, so that's why, it's better if you're in a cabin or something like that. A friend of mine was like, I had dreams about bears and women in the forest. I was like, oh my goodness. So, you might want to be in a little kind of cabin like that, shack. Not a cabin necessarily, but a shack. All right, but otherwise, glamping in a big tent on, sites where there's other people close by, you may feel safer with that. All right, and so yeah, so all praises to the Most High, Abba, Yah. I hope, family, that you have found this useful. And once again, this was such a blessing to just have this confirmed that the Most High would descend in the south in a special sense in the form of Yahusha HaMashiach. And that is exactly what happened, just to remind you, in Bethel, in Bethlehem, where Yahusha was born, and he is indeed Jacob's ladder. He was the angel that Yahusha wrestled with, who became the man who now lives inside of us, lives within us, and directs and orders our steps, and will return on the 7th day. So we are rehearsing the second Exodus, the return again. We are rehearsing the 7th day, 1,000-year reign, and we are rehearsing the eternal Shabbat with the 8th day Shabbat. We're going to have any of those meat offerings. We're going to do drink offerings. So we're going to do grain offerings. And you can just go and buy some. I know some of you people have families and you're really busy and you're just struggling. Yah will make a way. He will show you how to do what you can afford. And look forwards to the breakthrough. Look forwards to the breakthrough. I've already gotten many of them. And know that Yahuwah is very gracious and merciful and compassionate. And he will make the adjustments according to your ability to do so. He knows you're in Babylon and your finances and scheduling circumstances may not always comply, but he can make them work. He can act on your behalf to make them work according to according to his purpose. And so don't put too much, if you're a perfectionist, don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're an anything goes Christian who just doesn't think it all matters, put a lot of pressure on yourself. Just depending on the kind of personality you are, Yah will tighten it up, do it with excellence. But remember, This is Yahusha's birthday time, birthday and return celebration, and your return to the land celebration. And you are building up your temple. Celebrate it with joy. Now, the solemn feast is the 8th day one. That is a solemn one, just as a reminder. But these 7 days are to be celebrated with mirth. In other words, with joy. And so have a good time with Yah, and the drink offering, you do not have to consume it. You're not supposed to consume it, actually. And of course, if you struggle with drinking or anything, please don't bring any alcohol around you. You can just pour out grape juice. All right? And so Shabbat Shalom, and I just give all praises and glory to the Most High on this, his day, the first day of Tabernacles. I just praise him and thank him for everything he's done in me. And I pray, family, you have a blessed time. I'm just going to give a few minutes here for some questions, if you have any, and I will answer them, and send me emails as well. And Shabbat Shalom to you. Fam, I'm just going to close out here. I'm going to leave you guys maybe about 20 seconds to put your questions up on the chat, because I'm usually watching through the chat here. And so go ahead and post your questions in the chat and I'll answer them, or go ahead and post them on the board again, or send them out to me. I will answer them as best as I can. I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to be broadcasting again this week. We'll see how the Spirit leads me. And Shabbat Shalom, and happy Yahusha's born week. Shalom. And so, family, starting today all the way through to the following Shabbat, Shemini Azeret, the 8th high holy day, I hope you will enjoy this born week and eternal day of Tabernacles with Yawasha, and just fellowshipping with Yah, and being in the Spirit, and being in nature, and hearing from him through his creation. And I hope you're able to relax and to celebrate with myrrh and joy, and build up the temple of your person at this time in order to prepare once again for the second Exodus and everything that is to come, and to just lean on Yah and trust in his faithfulness. May Yah bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine on you. May he be gracious, lift the light of his countenance, and give you shalom. So family, go ahead and pick up the calendar of the cookbook at intoalltruth.net. That's intoalltruth.net. And support this ministry. I thank you for all your prayers and support. They mean so much to me. If you would please hit the like button and share. It doesn't cost you anything. I would greatly appreciate it. And Baruch to you all.
Arise up you, O Yahweh. Let your enemies be scattered, and let those that hate thee flee from before thee. Let all of Yasharah, Yisrael, who love, worship, and praise Yahweh, give him thanks by saying Hallelujah.